So with the fourth episode of Unnamed Memory, we have a lot to discuss. One, kind of feels like war is incoming if kingdoms have maybe 20 or 30 mages and one has like 200 to 300 currently, so something big's definitely brewing there. But the biggest thing is definitely the progression of Tanasha as well as Oscar's relationship, which has been the core crutch and skeleton of the show, the thing that kept it interesting from episode 1. And they're beautiful, they're growing, they're training each other. But the big thing that we've seen over especially the last couple of episodes, is that Tanasha very much feels like someone who doesn't want to live forever, and that's basically what she's cursed with. But I think also this episode really flexes just how lonely she is and how much she really just wants to be loved, not treated as this like, oh, everyone assumes you're manipulating, this, that, and the third. But I think what episode 4 does is it really hammers in what I was discussing when she initially healed herself and she aged herself up, is that by the end of this show, not necessarily this season, because I doubt we're getting a full adaptation or an anime original ending or anything like that, but the story's ending. I do think it's going to be sad no matter what, but after this episode, it's potentially has the shot to go dark. So my initial thought was seeing that after she was skewered in episode 2 or 3, whatever it was, I think it was episode 2, and she was wounded, she healed herself, which then aged herself. So in theory, she could age herself to the point of dying if she wanted, but maybe that's not necessarily how that works, and she can only age herself during crucial injuries. I don't know. But either way, I feel like these two are truly gonna fall in love. They are gonna have this amazing relationship. They'll have a kid, this, that, and everything else. But here's the thing. She is more or less training Oscar to be strong enough to kill her. If aging isn't a possibility through magical spells, imagine her staying relatively the same as Oscar gets to 60, 70, 80 years old, right? And he's on his deathbed. Do you really think she'll want to live another life after him? I don't think so. And if he truly will be strong enough to kill her, could we end up in a situation where the author wants to go the route of having him kill her before he fully passes on or something? Because, well, if it was 10 years from now and he died, would she want to continue on? Of course. But if they let these two fall madly in love, does this immortal witch really want to have another life after this, be that lonely? If their kid or something is immortal, then sure, I could see it going like that. But you can start seeing how this could get very dark and sad, but oddly romantic all at the same time. I don't know, but it's a little worrisome, I'm not gonna lie, especially because on one hand, she's training our boy to be the strongest in the world, but on the flip side, it almost feels like it's her way out need be, and it's getting heavy. Of course, I have full live reactions over on my Patreon. If you want to see my full and good thoughts to this or any of these Unnamed Memory episodes, it's going to be over there if you're interested. So, to be honest, we broke the spell. Episodes 2 and 3 nearly killed our girl and killed her in a dream. So, like, Tanasha had a bad track record the past couple of weeks there. And, honestly, good track record this week. We get a lot of training, a decent amount of action. I was a little sad we didn't get to see the 5-piece that came into the tower and she said, hey, fight my boy over here and I'll grant your wish. But then again, we did have a lot of action in this episode. And surprisingly, you know, when we had episode 2 during the dragon fight and how insanely animated that was, a lot of people said the only reason it was animated that well was because of the one person who worked on it, who was like the one talented member for action at this studio. But if I'm being frank, this show has looked great from episode 1 to now to episode 4. Episode 1 was the least produced. And episode 1 looked good. There was a decent amount of action, not crazy amounts, but, you know, the characters moved well and everything. But between 2 through 4, we've had quite a few scenes, and this episode, despite it being quick bursts of animation, the characters moved rather smoothly. And I think my favorite part, the small detail anyway, like my favorite part overall is the building of Tanasha and Oscar's relationship, of course, but it's the moment with the fire circle. So we're in a pretty fun time period of anime right now, because back in the day, if you rewind even 5 years ago, you don't even have to go the full decade, just rewind 5 years ago. Most magic systems are casting elemental spells, or there's no fundamentals. I don't need an author to necessarily explain to me how magic actually makes sense, because it's fake. It's never gonna make sense. If there is a explanation of the concepts and the ideas of, oh, it connects to your emotion, and if you can visualize, you know, it does make it feel better than just, I imagine fire and fire has been thrown. So she summons this circle and says, okay, you can't use the magic, but you can see magic. Find the source of it And he really starts focusing, and it's like these threads that are going around the ring of fire. And I thought to myself, oh, that's cool. I bet he just cuts one of it and it all goes away. But it actually connects to the summoning circle or the spell circle, and once he shatters that, the flames go away. It's not a big moment, but these are the moments that are more and more common with magic-based systems anymore, and I really appreciate it because it makes you feel like, oh, rather than this just being a generic elemental attack or something, there's actually thought put into their magic systems, which I enjoy. You can look at the curse that our boy's going through, you can look at the concepts that she's exploring with her own stuff. It's just nice because, like, I feel like most of the time you would get what you got with the mind control situation, where it's just like, oh, she's mind control and there's no more to it. It's just nice about that. Though the ending of the episode was kind of shocking, so around the first third of the episode, she bumps into this girl who's like acting as a maid, and she recognizes the aura around her and calls her out. If I'm not mistaken, it's the same character from the previous episode where the guy got killed and she was teleported away, if I'm not mistaken. I could be, but that's what I think. And by the end of the episode, the fat bastard who tried to get on Tanasha's good side by using her official name, which he was not a fan of, gets slaughtered by said girl and her weapon. Being that giant wolf. And I'm like, things getting rather spicy, but I like that. The thing about this show that's so good is that it shouldn't be good. It should be boring. These types of shows I see a lot of where it's like, okay, it's going to be like a more slow burn political story. And instead they said, nah, we're going to give you a relationship that's just as interesting as something like a Holo or Lawrence from Spiceable just doing its own thing. We're going to have the politics at play, and we're going to just really have an interesting what if. What if they do fall in love? What if they do have a kid together? We have less than 6 months left for them, at least according to this episode. And the idea of like, what happens when they do have a life? What happens when she falls so in love and has to say goodbye to yet again another person she cares for? Does she die with him? Can she die with him? There is potential for this to go very dark and sad, but also oddly romantic all at the same time. I don't know if they will commit to something that crazy, but the signs have been there, and I've been talking about similar things since about episode 2, if I'm not mistaken, or at least episode 3, but I think it was episode 2 because that's when she was hurt, and I was like, okay, if she can age herself to heal herself, I mean, there's a way out for her to die with him. But the idea that even the other witch is calling her out, like, if you keep going, like, this guy's gonna be strong enough to kill you, and she seems oddly into that, and that's kind of sad, but it makes sense when she feels so alone in that scene where even if she was brainwashed, to get called out that you're just brainwashing this, that, and she's like, I've never done that. To imagine the hundreds of years she's probably lived through comments like those, it's going to eat away at you. I've definitely found myself enjoying this show more and more as the weeks go on. It's kind of crazy that in 4 episodes, 2 of those have almost killed our girl, or at least at face value. But yeah, this show is absolutely a treat to watch every Tuesday. But let me know what you're thinking down below. And what do you think's going to happen? They do fully fall in love with each other. What do you see? Do you see him killing her and letting her pass on with him? Do you think she'll stick around because they have an immortal kid? Or do you think she'll just age herself with him? I think those are the 3 possibilities, but maybe you got another opinion. Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you know if I would upload more. Like I mentioned, got those full live reactions over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we have One Up Annie, Demon69C, and we also have Cody Fox. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.